The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. They're coming to customers. Play just $5, $100 bonus funds. Use promo code NBA SGPN. And welcome everyone to the NBA Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Currently Friday afternoon, December 5th, around noon p.m. Eastern. On the West Coast now. I'm in Vegas, so technically 9 a.m. Eastern, but either way, point is here to break down the pretty large card for Friday for the NBA. Going solo for this podcast. Unfortunately, the timing didn't really work out with the time difference, etc. I did try to record at 9 in the morning, but my alarm didn't go off, so I don't really know what happened there. But either way, a point is Lonte couldn't make it, so now I'm going solo for the show. Bit of a, I'd say, weird scheduling scenario there, so apologies that you might have been waiting for about an hour. But either way, show must go on. So we are here now to get into the card for Friday. Now, for the actual NBA card, I'll recap what happened in my last episode. Overall, it's been a good run for me recently. Ended up, I know I swept an episode and then I was off yesterday, but 2 days ago, ended up sweeping. So hopefully we'll keep it rolling here for this show. But either way, I'm going to get into the games in a second. Before we get into the actual games for Friday, a reminder that if you want to check out and as discount code on the SGPN merch store, make sure you use the code HOLIDAY at checkout for a quarter off everything in the merch store. The code ends in a couple of days, ends at the end of the week. So once again, if you want to get some nice discounted shirts and merchandise for SGPN, check out the merch store on the SGPN website. Use code HOLIDAY at checkout for a quarter off everything in the merch store. Plus, I am in a random hotel. So let me know if the, I'd say, audio sounds horrible or not. I know my voice might be shot too. But either way, point is the audio might be a little bit, I'd say, sketchy or shady. We'll see what happens. But let me know. I think it's okay for now. But if the audio is not as good as it normally is, you know why. I'm in a random hotel room. But either way, time to get into the actual games here for Friday. Starting off with the first game on the card, going to go with the Lakers against the Celtics. Now, for this one, Celtics are laying 6.5. The over-under is 225.5. And for the injury report here, Luka is still questionable for personal reasons. You're looking at Jaylen Brown, who did not play yesterday. Didn't matter as Boston won by 40 and change. But Jaylen Brown should be back in the lineup for this game. And, of course, no Tatum. Now, the Lakers' main storyline yesterday was twofold. One, Austin Reeves having a crazy game. He had 40-plus points and 10 assists. And LeBron, who had his record of 10-plus points being snapped as he did not get there against Toronto. Then again, of course, a win is a win. But I think it's time we finally acknowledge maybe you could argue the sciatica is playing a factor to it. LeBron might be washed at this point when it comes to his actual explosiveness. So we'll see how the Lakers look. But LeBron, I'll put it this way, the burst isn't there anymore, which is completely understandable. He's 40-something. But I am pointing it out. LeBron almost failed to reach 10 points in back-to-back games. It seems like this is the end of the line. I'll put it that way. So either way, point is the Lakers got a nice win in Toronto. Now they're traveling to Boston. Definitely not a good travel spot going from Canada to Boston, where the Celtics went from D.C. to Boston. Not nearly as bad. Now, look, Boston's been in great form lately. Boston went from being a team that we thought might be tanking when the season started to a team that's been kind of on fire lately. So the Celtics have won 8 of their last 10. They're currently 13-9. The Lakers, have been good this season, but Luka, we still don't know if he's playing or not. Personal reasons can be very, I'd say, tricky to predict because there's really no way of knowing how he's feeling mentally at this point in time. So Luka, I believe, was a family issue, so we'll see if he's back in the lineup or not. I have no idea if he's going to be or not, but based on the actual spread at 6.5, I'm assuming he's not going to be because 6.5 sounds pretty large, at least based on the Lakers' record. I think Luka's probably sitting in this game. Now, for the actual spread, I'll go for Boston in this game. I do think that the Lakers are, of course, a team that has been playing better than I expected this season on the road. They're 9-2 on the road, but the point is you had a bunch of guys playing a bunch of minutes yesterday. Reeves had 40-plus points, but you look at the minute breakdown, and Reeves had 44 points in 41 minutes. And you're looking at LeBron, who played 36 last night. I just question the actual spot for a relatively old team on a back-to-back with travel. So based on that reason, give me Boston. Boston played yesterday too, but they were up by 40 immediately. So they got to sit a bunch of guys in the second half. I like the spot, especially with Boston being at home. Give me the Celtics for this one to cover the spread at -6.5. Moving on to the next game here. You have a Miami battle, or I should say a Florida battle, between the Heat and the Magic. Magic laying 6.5. The over-under is 241.5. Injury report for this game. I see Hero is doubtful and Mo Wagner's out for Orlando. Now, we know Miami's been good. Now, the last time I talked about Miami, I did pick the Mavericks to beat them outright, and they did. But Miami, we know, has been good at 14-8. Orlando, though, after a bad start, has picked it up lately, and Orlando, once again, has been playing good basketball. Now, this is going to be a bit of a tricky game because we might get the return of Banchero, who's questionable for this game, but it seems like he is tracking to play. And according to reports earlier this morning, he will be playing in this game. So you're looking at Banchero, who is now back. I've mentioned many times on the show, Orlando has looked better without him so far in the last couple of years. We'll see if Banchero is able to play well in this game. Now, Orlando's laying 6.5. I get it, because Orlando's been very good, especially with the home crowd behind them. They're 8-4 at home this season, so we know, of course, the atmosphere there in Orlando is very solid in the Kia Center. But do I think Paolo, 1, will ruin some of the, I'd say, offensive ball movement that we've seen from Orlando for the last couple of weeks? And 2, will he be rusty? And I feel like with those two questions, and with Miami kind of, I don't want to say no-showing the game against Dallas, but it wasn't pretty. Now, I will point out Powell did not play in that game, so that worked out to our benefit, but Powell is back in the lineup for this one. I'll take Miami in this game. I think 6.5 is a few too many points. Yes, I know Banchero coming back would be a solid amount of reinforcements, but there is a narrative around the team, which is them playing a bit worse when he's in the lineup. So maybe I'll just test out that theory myself for the game tonight. But Orlando recently has been good, but I'll point out they did lose their last game to San Antonio at home. They beat the Bulls but did not cover. They won that game by 5. Bulls have been terrible lately too. So I do think Orlando could win without covering, but a 3-possession win does feel pretty large to me. Give Miami to keep this game close. I'll take the Heat plus the 6.5 in this game. For the total, for 41.5, I mean, look, I understand that the Heat play a bunch of high-scoring games, and Orlando has been involved in some high-scoring games too lately, but I do think it's high for a reason. I'll go for the over. I'm probably not going to bet it, but I do think that this total's in the 240s for a reason. I'll go for the over in this one. Moving on to the next game, the Nuggets taking on the Hawks. Nuggets are laying 5.5. The over-under is 238.5. Now, for the injury report, Denver is relatively fine. Once again, Gordon and Brown are still out, but Jamal Murray is in the lineup, Jokic is in the lineup, and Cam Johnson and Watson are still in the lineup. For Atlanta, they might be missing a couple starters again because Jalen Johnson missed last game last minute with a calf injury, and then Porzingis has not played because of illness. So they're both questionable for this game. We'll see if they suit up, but there's a chance Atlanta might be down a couple of starters again, most notably Jalen Johnson. And we saw without Jalen Johnson, this team's useless, and the Clippers buried him. So we'll see what the story is. It might be wise to honestly sacrifice a point or two of line movement to actually know if Jalen Johnson's going to play because he's that valuable. I don't know how many points he's worth to Atlanta, but it's a lot. Like, this team is useless when he doesn't play. So based on that, I do think Denver should win the game and probably cover. I don't see much of an answer for Joker in this game. I think Joker's going to have a triple-double again. I think he'll be able to have a great game. And I do think Atlanta, with Jalen Johnson, even if he does play, being less than 100% with the calf injury, I do think Denver should look sharper offensively throughout the game. We saw them wake up and bury Indiana in their last game. I know Atlanta's much better defensively than Indiana is, but we know Denver in general is still a couple of tiers ahead of Atlanta. We like Atlanta because we thought that they would be a fun team going into the season with a bad Eastern Conference. then Trey got hurt, and they look a lot better. So it's more of a narrative thing. But they're definitely not in the same tier as Denver, and I do think Denver being 9-2 on the road tells me this team's comfortable in opposing arenas. To go through the actual struggles recently for Denver, all at home. On the road recently, beat Indiana by 15, beat Phoenix by 18, beat Memphis by 10, beat the Rockets by 3, the Pelicans by 7, the Timberwolves by 11, the Clippers by 14, the Kings by 14. They've been really good lately on the road, and they win by margin. Good enough for me. Give me Denver minus the 5.5 here in this road game. Moving on to the next game, Spurs taking on the Cavaliers. Cavs laying 4.5. The over-under is 239.5. The Cavaliers are really not that good. 13-10 for the injury report. I see no Garland and no Allen. They're still missing a couple other guys like Merrill and Strus, but the main guys, the starters, no Allen and no Garland in the lineup tonight. For San Antonio, still no Castle, still no Wemby, no Cornette as well. So Cornette had the game-winning block there and then missed this game. But you still have Fox, you still have Barnes, you still have a couple other starters. But we know San Antonio is missing a couple of key pieces. They've been good, though, without Castle and Wemby. Shout out to Fox. Fox has been really good carrying the team with those guys being injured. But either way, they are a bit shorthanded. Now, I know Cleveland at home is the, you can argue, more talented team on paper. Do I care? No. I think Cleveland's been overvalued all season. I think Cleveland is a team that has been mispriced all season. I was not high on Cleveland going into the year. I thought that they were a team that completely fizzled out into the playoffs, and I just thought they'd be a team that was overvalued all the time, and they have been. This team feels soft. This team has really no defensive backcourt, and honestly, I still don't think Mobley and Allen work together in the front court. But I understand the line feels short when San Antonio is using a third-string center in Kelly Olynyk. I get it. But I do think you're looking at a spot where the Spurs are alive to win the game. It might just be blindly not trusting Cleveland, which is fully understandable in this game. I'm going to go with the Spurs to get the job done in this game. Yes, I know Cleveland at home can easily win this game by margin. I get it. But I'm not going to really, once again, make an argument in favor of Cleveland because I don't trust them to beat anybody at this point. Cleveland's been underachieving all season. They're 13-10, and they've been favored in a bunch of these games. I don't have the spread numbers in front of me, but I know that Terrell mentioned it in a couple episodes ago when we did it together. The Cavs have been horrible. They're one of the worst ATS teams in the league. So based on that, I'll fade them. If they win the game and cover, it is what it is. But either way, I'll go with the Spurs to cover the spread in this game. I see Bear mentioning that, solo shows aren't exactly the best because there are no counter arguments. I get what you're saying. A point is, once again, I think people would rather have game breakdowns than none at all. So solo shows are not as good as the normal shows, but it's better than nothing. So once again, here we are trying to break down games, but I get what you're saying, but it is what it is, doing the best that we can since, once again, we had a scheduling issue earlier this morning. Anyway, before we get into the remainder of the games here on Friday, a reminder that we're brought to you by our sponsor, Kalshi, a new sponsor, and a reminder that they are a nice prediction market that is legal in all 50 states, real money prediction market, and you can trade tons of markets and sports, including the NFL, college football, college basketball, the NBA, NHL, and more. You can also trade props like first touchdowns if you want to get a bit more creative for some big plus money prices. And a reminder that you can also check out other markets, including politics, entertainment, even weather, if you want to be extra degen. Trade anything on Kalshi. And a reminder, new customers on Kalshi get $20 when they use promo code SGPN. That's Kalshi, Kalshi, promo code SGPN for a free $20. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. So you want to check out pick'em entries, chance to win 5,000 times your entry, pick higher or lower on player stats, mix and match your sports, NBA, NHL, college sports. You get the idea. Point is, you can make a lot of money using Underdog for pick'em entries. Also, a new offer for customers, play just $5. $100 bonus funds. Use promo code NBA SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the McGowan Podcast. Finished going through the first couple games for the card. Time to go on into the next game. Trailblazers taking on the Pistons. Pistons laying 7.5. The over-under is at 235.5. Now, for the injury report here, Duncan Robinson is questionable for Detroit. For Portland, still no Drew Holiday, still no Scoot. You see Robert Williams being questionable. Murray's questionable. Klingen's questionable. So a decent amount of guys on Portland might not play. Now, Portland, we know, has been a team that's been feisty, but recently the wins have just not been stacking up for them. And you're looking at Avdia, who's playing the new de facto point guard, even though definitely not his real position. Now, Portland, once again, has been competitive. They ended up losing to the Spurs by 13. After that, played OKC, lost by 8, played Toronto, lost by 3, and beat Cleveland on the road. Now, Detroit has been a bit underwhelming lately. After going on a massive winning streak, they have cooled off a bit lately as they have lost 3 of their last 5. They lost to Boston by 3, Orlando by 3, then they ended up beating Miami, they beat Atlanta, and they lost to Milwaukee. But there is one common theme. All of those 5 games were decided by less than 5 points. So Detroit has been involved in a bunch of close games, win or lose lately, and Portland has been kind of feisty. So I do think based on the actual number, I get Detroit is the healthier team. If Klingen does not play and Time Lord's questionable, Duran might end up with 20 rebounds. Like, that is a possibility for this game. But I do think for the actual value, I think it's on Portland. It's not the same situation as the Bulls playing the Nets a couple days ago, but I mentioned a stat from that game, which was Chicago not winning a game by 4+ points since October. So if you're looking at recent form, Detroit's been involved in a bunch of close games. So maybe Detroit 1-10 is worth an angle. Pick Kate to close the game out, but Detroit does not really open the game up at any point. I think that's realistic. But Portland, win or lose, is usually competitive. This team's tough to play, and I do think Detroit, with the recent form, is actually a bit overvalued, in my opinion. Detroit's been, once again, involved in a couple of really close games lately, and Portland, I think, can keep this game close. Will they win? I didn't say that, but I do think that 7.5 does feel pretty large when Detroit has had 5 straight games decided by less than 5 points. Actually, if you want to go back even further, the Pistons have had 6 straight games decided by less than 6 points. So based on that, I'll go for the Trailblazers here to keep the game relatively close. Moving on to the next game, the biggest spread on the board. You have the Jazz taking on the Knicks. Jazz had a comeback against the Nets yesterday, but it's back-to-back. The Jazz, we know, are trying to tank. They might be sitting a bunch of guys. If Laurie does not play in this game, I would not be shocked. I'll put it that way. And for the injury report, once again, Utah right now is fully healthy. I should say mostly. I mean, Kevin Love's probable. Nurkic is a maybe after not playing yesterday, but it's the Jazz. So I would probably expect to see Laurie sit in this game. But either way, point is, it's not official. That's all we got so far. But keep an eye out for the injury report in the middle of the afternoon. We might see some load management happening with Utah in the next couple hours. But either way, the Knicks are pretty healthy. No Shamet. Anunoby, though, has been upgraded to questionable, so we'll see if Anunoby's back in the lineup. But besides that, Brunson is fine, Towns is fine, Bridges is fine, and Josh Hart is fine. So the real question is simple. Utah, if you're getting a win, do I think they actually care, or do they have a Wizards performance from yesterday and get blown out by 80? So I do think the Jazz have been better than people thought. They're 8-13. They're not good, but people thought going into the year they would be a team that might win 15 games all season. I know Lonte liked their win total over preseason. Looks pretty good so far. That was based on the track that they're on. But I do think for this game, I think the Knicks bury them. Simply put, the Jazz are a bad team on a back-to-back, off a win. I think Laurie might not play in this game, and I think Utah is going to pack it up. So it might be a bit of a bolder call. I'm picking a full no-show from Utah. They got to win. Think that they'll be content with that. They're still in New York. I think that they punt this game. Give me the Knicks. I think they win handily, maybe not by 45 like Boston did yesterday, but I see the Knicks winning by 20+. Knicks have been playing better lately. They were not good, especially in the last couple of minutes there against the Celtics in their last game as they lost. I wasn't surprised. I did like Boston in that game. But the Knicks responded after losing to Boston by beating Charlotte by 15. I see a pretty similar story here. Think the Knicks look good. I think they'll score a bunch of points. The Jazz, we know defensively, are horrific. And I do think if Laurie's out, this team can't score. So if you want to go for some bench players, might be a Collier game. If Keontae doesn't play, I don't mind a sneaky, once again, Collier double-double play if you want to go for something like that. But either way, I do think you're looking at a good spot for the Knicks to bury this team. The Knicks beat Charlotte, got some, I'd say, frustrations out after losing to Boston. But the point is the Knicks are still at home, much better at home than on the road. And the Jazz, we know, are still terrible on the road. Give me the Knicks minus the 15.5 in this game. I think they have a chance to score 100 in the first three quarters. Give me the Knicks to score, in my opinion, 130 in this game. Moving on to the next game, Hornets taking on the Raptors. Now, the Raptors, we saw earlier yesterday, ended up losing to the Lakers on a buzzer beater, but you're looking at Charlotte, who stinks. Charlotte is 6-16. They've won 2 games over the last couple of weeks. They beat the Bulls, who are on a losing streak, and ended up beating Toronto in overtime after benching LaMelo. Since then, lost to the Nets by 13 and lost to the Knicks by 15. This team is 6-16, but they are 1-10 on the road. They are awful on the road. Now, Toronto is off of a pretty rough loss there to the Lakers, heartbreaker. They've lost 3 of their last 4, but Toronto has some revenge in their mind because they did lose to Charlotte in a game they should have won about a week ago. So Toronto, we know, is 8-3 at home. I do wonder what the injury reports are going to be because Toronto, of course, did play yesterday. Pirtle did not play. He's questionable, and Barrett has been upgraded to doubtful, so we'll see if he's back in the lineup. But for the injury report for Charlotte, I see LaMelo's probable, Miller is a maybe, Cockbrenner's a maybe, and Sexton is out. So I actually like Sexton as a player. I think Sexton has some value off the bench, but he's not going to be there. So I'll go for Toronto in this game. Yes, I know that Charlotte just beat this team outright, but I do think it's worth mentioning the Hornets, once again, are 1-10 on the road. They are a horrific road team. Good enough for me. Toronto has not been playing great recently, but they're much better than this team. My thoughts on Charlotte are well documented. I think this team is awful. I'll go for Toronto minus the 7.5 in this revenge game for them. Moving on to the next game. You have the Pacers taking on the Bulls. Bulls are laying 4.5. The over-under in this game is around 237.5. Chicago used to be good, not anymore. They have been awful lately. So for the updated records for these teams, Indiana, we know, is in the basement. They are 4-18. For Chicago, they are 9-12, but they are 6-3 at home. So Chicago's been a lot better at home than on the road. They have lost 5 in a row, so things have not been going well. And against bad teams, too. Lost to New Orleans, lost to Charlotte, lost to Indiana, lost to Orlando, good team there, and ended up losing to Brooklyn. So 4 of the 5 teams in that losing streak are objectively bad, and they've still lost those games. So Chicago is kind of in free fall right now. Indiana, though, we know started the season in free fall because everyone got hurt. For the injury report for Indiana in this game, I see the usual suspects: no Toppin, no Shepard, no Neesmith. I do see Nembhard, I see Siakam, I see Mathurin. So you do have some scoring options, but still, a couple of main guys are out. And of course, Halliburton is still out for the season. For Chicago, I see Kobe White and Dosunmu are questionable, but I know White did not play last game, so he might be back in the lineup, which would be a nice boost for this team offensively. But he has a calf injury, which is a common theme around the league. We'll see if he ends up playing in this game. Besides that, Jalen Smith is doubtful. Okoro is doubtful. Trey Jones is doubtful as well. So once again, a bunch of injuries for Chicago, but we'll see if they can overcome it. Now, Chicago did lose to Indiana in the game a couple of days ago, as Indiana won on a Siakam game winner. So we'll see if revenge is going to play a factor here for Chicago. Indiana, though, I said a second ago, Charlotte was only possessing 1 win on the road. Indiana said, hold my beer. We're 0-10 on the road. Indiana, I believe, is the only team in the entire league with 0 road wins. So Indiana has been a free win as of right now, on the road every time. And you know what? Even though Chicago has been bad, and even though I picked the Nets to beat Chicago outright in the last home game for Chicago, I'm going with the Bulls. I do think the Pacers, until they win a road game, I will fade them. The Bulls, at the end of the day, can still score. Indiana's Mathurin, who I think could have a very solid game in this one. But I think you're looking at a good spot for the Bulls to get back on track here. 0-10 on the road kind of speaks for itself. I see Renzo mentioned the opposite perspective, which is eventually Indiana has to win a road game. Maybe. I'll wait and see. Give me Chicago. I think the game will be close. I'm not picking a blowout, but I do think Chicago will get some revenge. I see Chicago winning by 7 in this game. Give me the Bulls, though, to get the job done in this one. Moving on to the other double-digit spread on the card for tonight, or at least the second one. We have another one in a second. But you have the Suns taking on the Rockets. Now, the injury report for this game, Booker is now out. You still have no Jalen Green. For Houston, though, you still have no Eason and no Finney Smith. But Phoenix has been competitive this season. The problem is Booker is now out, so the scoring might be a bit underwhelming. We'll see who steps up, whether it involves Grayson Allen, maybe even Dylan Brooks will go from there. Now, you're looking at the actual records this season. Phoenix is 13-9. Houston is 14-5. But Houston won the first meeting of the season on the road in late November, so about 2 weeks ago, by 22 in Phoenix. So I think Houston probably rolls here. I understand Phoenix is a very, I'd say, underrated team right now, but the offense without Booker should be problematic, and you're looking at the lack of, in my opinion, shot creators. I know Gillespie has been quite good this season. Allen's more of a shooter. We know Brooks is more of a shooter. Gillespie has been putting up some points, but do they have an actual point guard on the roster? I don't know. And without the actual true, I say, facilitator on the roster, I think Phoenix's offense is going to be in just an extremely messy spot. So based on that, and based on Houston being physical, a great rebounding team, and being a good defensive team as well, I see a bad matchup for Phoenix. I'll actually lay it with Houston. I don't mind the under in this game. I think it's low for a reason. I think Phoenix's offense might struggle to actually get to 105 in this game. So I'll go for the under in this game, but without an actual point guard. And Booker, despite being a shoot-first guy, was still the main, I'd say, ball handler for this offense. And with Booker not being available, they have to reinvent everything, and I don't see that working out early. So give me the Rockets to win this game and cover, but I'm going to go with the under in this matchup. Moving on to the next game, you have the Clippers taking on the Grizzlies. We saw them play about a week or two ago, and the Grizzlies went outright as, I believe, 7.5-point dogs. Now, the Clippers are currently laying 1.5. The over-under's at 223.5. Injury report, Chris Paulino has been sent home. Besides that, no Derrick Jones, no Bogdanovich, and that's basically it. For Memphis, you have no Clark still, no Jerome, no Morant, and no Pippen. Same as usual, but we know Memphis has been, I'd say, not good, but they've been better recently. But either way, they are 9-13. So for the recent form of these teams, the Clippers, we know, are god-awful. They beat the Hawks because Jalen Johnson didn't play, and they got gifted a free win. Now, the Clippers, even after beating Atlanta, are 3-9 on the road. The Grizzlies are 9-13, but they are 4-6 at home. They had won 3 in a row, lost to San Antonio. San Antonio's been good. The game was close, but they ended up falling short as they lost by 7. So for this game, the question is simple. Do you want to actually put faith in the Clippers or the Grizzlies? I'll go Grizzlies in this game. The Clippers, I still don't trust. Yes, they beat Atlanta. Atlanta has nobody if Jalen Johnson doesn't play. Like, watching that team play, it was an eyesore. So it was basically a free win. Clippers jumped them early and coasted. Zubac had, I think it was 17 rebounds. Because without having Porzingis into the lineup, what are you going to do? You can't rebound the ball. So it was just a bad matchup for Atlanta there. Clippers are still not good. Always Memphis plays hard. There is some type of identity there. You could argue it's flawed, but at least the Grizzlies play hard and have some pride in their game. The same cannot be said about the Clippers. I do think the Grizzlies have some value here. I'm not really, once again, thrilled by either team, but I do think getting about even money, give or take, on the home team against the Clippers team that is 6-16 overall and 3-9 on the road, and Memphis won outright in the first meeting on the road this season, I see value, always based on the number. I'll go for Memphis to get the job done. Zubac versus Edey is actually a very fun matchup, so I'll be looking for that. But either way, I do think the Grizzlies have some value, mainly not wanting to pick the Clippers to ever win a game at this point in the season. Moving on to the next game, you have the Sixers taking on the Bucks. So Giannis got hurt again, so all trade talks have been stalled. But most importantly, Giannis is out, and the Bucks stink when Giannis does not play. As for Philly, had a crazy win yesterday against a completely decimated Warriors team. Bower didn't play, Curry didn't play, and Draymond got injured in the first half. Yet, it came down to the wire. Game-winning putback there by Edgecombe. Game-winning block there by Maxey. They won the game. Now they're playing on a back-to-back against Milwaukee. They already played against Milwaukee without Giannis. Game went to overtime. Maxey at 50-plus points. We'll see if he can do it again. Now, for the injury report, I see Embiid's being doubtful for this game, and Paul George is a maybe, but we know Maxey's been great. Edgecombe has been a solid rookie, and Drummond, we know, has been great when starting. Did nothing yesterday, but I think he'll look a lot better in this game. So, look, at the end of the day, the line is pretty short. Philly's laying 1.5 against the Milwaukee team with no Giannis. Totals dropped from 223.5 to 221.5. I like the under. I see a very ugly game. First meeting went to overtime, so the total points does seem a little bit inflated based on that. But I'll go Philly in this game. You could argue it's a good spot for Milwaukee because they're looking at a Philly being on a back-to-back and all. But I've seen Milwaukee play without Giannis all season. This team's not very good. I mean, you're looking at who's going to have to step up. It's either Rollins or Porter or Kuzma. I know Kuzma's been decent this season. Kevin Porter Jr. has been solid since coming back from injury. But do I really want to invest money in a Kevin Porter Jr.-led offense? The answer is no, I don't. I think Maxey should get whatever he wants. I do think Drummond on the boards can do a good job in this game. But I think 1.5 feels pretty short. Both teams are not really trustworthy, but I do think for the sake of the form that we've seen from both teams, Milwaukee wasn't playing good basketball with Giannis in the first place. They lost to the Wizards. So I do think that the Bucks are, once again, capable of winning this game. I'm not going to pick it, though, especially with Giannis being out. So give me the Sixers minus 1.5 and the under in this game. Moving on to the last game on the card, you have a massive spread. The Mavericks are getting 15.5 against the Thunder. The over-under is 229.5. Dallas, though, might have found a point guard in Nembhard. So Nembhard's been very good, had a double-double in the last 2 games, and he looks very comfortable back there. 13 assists against Miami, 10 assists against Denver. Don't look now, though. The Mavericks have won a couple of games in a row. So good for the Mavericks to not be total embarrassments. Still not good, but at least they've won a game or two, as they've currently won 3 in a row. Now, OKC, we know, is 21-1. They win every game. The question is by how much. Now, they faced off already this season. Dallas hung in there, actually, as Dallas only lost by 7 in the first meeting at home. Low-scoring game that landed 195. So we know the Thunder have won 13 in a row. They're playing their own sport right now. However, Golden State, the game was closer than 12. Like, that game was very close throughout. The Warriors' offense completely fell apart there after exploding in the third quarter. But the point is, I think for the sake of this matchup, the question is, will OKC bury this team, or does Dallas hang in there and probably lose a hard-fought battle? I'll go for the second option. The Thunder have been winning, but 15 is a lot of points. The Thunder have actually not won a game by more than 12 in 4 straight. So wins are wins, but they beat the Timberwolves by 8, beat the Suns by 4, beat the Trailblazers by 8, and beat Golden State, who had nobody. Butler left the game early. He came back at the end, but still, they won that game by 12 with no Curry. So the spread feels pretty large to me, actually. OKC has not been winning by 20-plus every time. Dallas has given them some issues in the past. The first meeting was close. They look better now in general. 15.5 feels a bit rich to me. I know that the Thunder should win this game, obviously. Do I want to lay 15.5? I don't. I think Dallas has actually shown some growth on the season, but I do think 15.5 is a bit large for me. Give me Dallas plus the points. Think they'll find a way to hang in there, but I do think the Thunder are, once again, winning games, obviously, but not by enough margin recently for me to trust them to win this game by 16 plus. Give me Dallas plus the points. Give me the under in this game. Think you'll see a closer game than people think, with the Thunder obviously still winning. Anyway, it's going to wrap it up for the actual game breakdowns. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. Before we get into the lock and dog, a reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, Novig. So you want to check out some great prices, check out Novig, the number one prediction market for sports in America. You'll get some great prices available in 35 states. Download the app when you do so. Get a nice deal with us. Get $50 and you spend just $5 if you use the promo code SGPN. So once again, get $50 when you spend just $5 if you use the promo code SGPN and extra Novig, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. So they're off to a great start in the NFL season. They've been great on props. You can also check them out for college basketball, check them out for college football. A lot of options. If you want to check out the college football conference title games, You can check out Rhythm. They have some game predictions as well. So checking out quickly some of the NBA action for tonight. I'll look at some props. I'll just see quickly what they like on the card. So Rhythm, if you want to check out some props for tonight, they like, let me just quickly see what I could find here. Okay, so let me just quickly see one of their favorite plays for the actual card. All right, I see Dyson Daniels under 2.5 steals at -122. So that's a Rhythm play. Check it out. Once again, if you want to check out Rhythm, you can also get your own account. And a reminder that if you want to use a nice discount code with us when you get your new account, use the code SGPN25. When you download the app, you get a quote off first month. Download the once again promo code SGPN25 for a quote off for first month at Rhythm. So once again, check it out for all the different sports for NFL, college basketball. They even have golf. If you want to check that out, WNBA when it's during the season. A lot of options, but once again, nice discount there with the code SGPN25 to check out at Rhythm. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast. Finished going through the game previews. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. For the lock, I'm going to go back to the Denver game against Atlanta. Even though I do think Atlanta has been better without Trey this season, I do think Denver is the better team. And the fact that Jalen is questionable with a calf issue, calf issues are very tricky. They've been plaguing the entire league. Do I think Jalen is guaranteed to play in this game? I do not. He's getting some shots up in morning shoot around. I don't know if that's enough for me. The fact is, calf tightness can impact him in terms of effectiveness as well if he does play. 5.5, though, feels too short. Denver is 9-2 on the road. They've been killing teams on the road, and I do think that Atlanta has no answers for Joker anyway. Porzingis has no chance. Okonkwo has no chance. Joker might walk into a 35-point triple-double, and the fact that Murray had a 50-piece earlier this week, I think Denver is going to take care of business here. Jalen with the calf issue is going to be problematic, and I think you're looking at Denver looking sharp in this road game. Give me Denver minus the 5.5 as my lock for the show. Looking at my actual dog for the game, or for the slate, I know San Antonio caught my eye, but the question is, do I want to actually go with San Antonio for this game? I think Detroit should win, but do I want to go for their 1-10 on the card? Because I can see that game being close. I think that Portland could actually be competitive in that game, especially with how many close games the Pistons have had over the last week. So I think I'll go for that, actually. I'm quickly trying to find what the price is for Detroit 1-10. But I see a close game. I'll pick the Pistons to win. But they've not been as good recently. They've kind of hit a wall, and I do think that they will be in a bit of a war here against Portland. So if you want to go for the Pistons to win by 1-10 points, you can find that available at, trying to find the price right now. Yeah, so Pistons 1-10 is available at plus 175. That will be my dog for the show. So once again, the lock's going to be on the Nuggets minus 5.5, minus 110. For the dog, I'm going to go with the Pistons 1-10 at plus 175. Moving on to Underdog for the entry here. Let me just quickly pull up some Underdog lines so I could actually start breaking down the games here, or the actual options. So for Underdog, let me just quickly see if there's anything I actually like on the card here. What do I want to go with for this one? I'll start off with something a bit, I'd say, unexpected. I am going to back Kevin Porter Jr. In this game. I do think that with the lack of Giannis, he has been great anyway. And I think you're looking at his points being pretty understandable at 20.5. But I think the assists are actually interesting. It's at 6.5, though. So I thought of maybe going for a PRA on Porter Jr. at 32.5. He has had at least 35 in 2 straight. But it is a bit inflated. I don't know if I actually trust him enough for that. So I think I'm going to pass. But I am going to go with a Bulls role player whose number I think is way too high. I'm going to go with Julian Phillips. I'm going to take his under, or his lower, 3.5 rebounds, and I think that's a good number. So far this season, Phillips has recorded 4 rebounds, 0 times. 0. He is 19-0. I think you're looking at a spot where he might get some minutes because Okoro might not play. I don't really care. Okoro has not been healthy recently anyway, and Phillips has not had 4 rebounds in a game. So 19-0 to the under, and you can get his lower 3.5 rebounds available at a reasonable price. I'll take that. Give me the random role player lower, 3.5 rebounds there as a very niche play for the first leg of the underdog entry. I will go with Joker triple-double. I think it is a good spot for Joker in this matchup. I don't think Atlanta has a chance. I think that you're looking at him getting whatever he wants. Give me Joker triple-double in this matchup, so I'll go for that as well. And last but not least, looking at the other options here, what do I want to go with as my last choice for the entry? Sorry, just trying to look around to find something. Do I think Reeves has another double-double in this game? I want to say no. I think it's a lot of assists for Reeves. I know he had 10 last game. I get that he's basically the point guard now. But Boston's good. I think Boston has once again, some intriguing defensive matchups. But unfortunately, the price is too expensive for me to take that. So let me quickly see. You know what? I actually did find something I did like. I liked Josh Hart rebounds in the game tonight. I think his double-double is actually quite appealing in this game. His rebounds, though, are at 7.5. Bit of a juicy entry, but I do think that is going to be a pretty solid angle. Hart has had a triple-double in 2 of his last 3 games against the Jazz, so I do think that his rebounds can be quite interesting here. If you want to go for his points and rebounds, it's at 20.5, which I don't mind either. The price is better on 20.5. I'll take that instead for my underdog entry. So once again, the 3 options for underdog today on Friday. Joker, triple-double. We're going to go with the Josh Hart higher, 20.5 PR, and Julian Phillips lower, 3.5 rebounds. Anyway, it's going to wrap it up for the show. Back once again on Monday.